when you start talking anyways. So what some people do is they don't have it, or they have it on, and then if they want to say something, they turn it off. But anyways, Mesopotamian empires. So what's really cool right here is we have an early song in cuneiform. No, I don't know how it goes. But today, the Akkadians. Before we get there, though, let's make sure we have some vocab. By the way, feel free to please be taking notes, because writing down helps you. I love how Kirthana is writing. I don't know what you're talking about, Alexander. I'm obviously doing a PowerPoint, broski. All right, so you don't have to write these words down because these are your vocabulary words that you have already defined. So first off, an empire is a group of many different lands under one ruler. So I think Evelyn was the person who said one ruler, and we had Danny with the idea saying how it was different countries ruled by one ruler, but it's the same idea: different lands, different peoples, different countries under one ruler. Now, often empires make the subjects pay tribute. Now, tribute is real simple. So we have Empress Shania. She is very powerful and strong, and she says, Karen, you're going to pay me tribute, or I shall continue to beat you up. And so Karen says, I don't want to be beat up, and then pays the tribute. Shania would never do that, so she's so nice and sweet. Next is province. Now, a province is a fancy word for like a state, like we have. So the United States has states. Other places, Mexico has states. Places like Canada has provinces. It's the same idea. It's just a smaller part of your country divided up to make it easier to run. No, you don't have to write this part. The part about the Akkadians you do. Now, I'm going to turn off the chat because it doesn't seem like Alexander knows what class he's in because he's talking non sequiturs. All right. Caravan. A group of merchants traveling together for safety, usually with a large number of camels. Caravans are going to be so important for trading at this time. Because here's the thing. Kadir is very rich. He has all of this stuff. Kadir does not want all of his stuff stolen. He wants to go make lots of money on it. So Kadir goes and gets Alexander and Maddox and Khan and Danny and Zoe and Eliza to all travel with him because all of them are very rich. They all have lots of stuff. And if they're together, it's a big, big group. And Ivan and Riley and Lexi are less likely to try to attack and steal all of their things because there's a huge number. Kadir has his battle axe in the back of his, and Alexander has his spear and Maddox has his bow and arrow. So they're protected. But if one of those tried to go alone, then all of those bandits and banditas might try to attack them to steal the stuff. Finally, astronomer. I love astronomy. Studying the stars and the sky is so interesting. And astronomy starts way back then. We had ancient Sumerian Cortez looking up at the sky, trying to figure out what was going on up there. We have ancient astronomer Evelyn going and figuring out that there are planets and figuring out how they revolve around our sun. We have ancient astronomer Jackie going and saying, the Earth was round, not flat. I know a lot of people right now think, oh, people back then thought the Earth was flat. No, almost all of time, everyone always knew it was round, which is kind of crazy how some people today are like, oh, it's flat. Even though you could literally go to the top of the mountain and see the curvature of the Earth. So that was the vocabulary that we need to know for this unit. You've already written all of this down, so I hope you follow my directions of don't write, even though I know some of you are writing. Maybe she's just making beautiful drawings instead, those girls. Now, another part to don't write before we get to finally writing. What does Mesopotamia mean? Who can remind me? What does Mesopotamia mean? What does Mesopotamia mean? Kadir.
Mesopotamia means it's like the city. I forgot.
Okay. Danny, you want to help out?
The land between two lands?
Yeah, in between between two rivers. So in between land or land between two rivers, both of them work. In between land is the most direct translation of the Greek, but land between two rivers is what we usually say. And those rivers are, give me one river, please. Evelyn?
The Tigris River?
The Tigris River. And Jason, can you give me the other river, sir?
The Euphrates River.
Bravissimo. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Now, these empires happened in modern-day Iraq. So if you wanted to go visit Samaria or the majority of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers and sail down them, you'd go to Iraq today. Cool, huh? Now, finally, our notes truly begin. Sargon I. He was the ruler of the city of Akkad. And he goes, and actually, he's got a very interesting origin story. You see, apparently, as a young boy, there was a threat to his life. So he was put in a reed basket and floated down the Tigris River. And then a princess found him and had him raised in the palace. Does that sound familiar at all?
Moses.
Yeah. So we see, once again, we're going to see some of these common ancient motifs happening time and time again. Yeah, it's the same as the story of Moses. His life was under threat, and he winds up getting sailed down, put in a little basket, picked up by a princess. Now, Sargon was not his given name. His mommy didn't name him Sargon. He took the title Sargon I after he conquered all of Mesopotamia. And Sargon I means true king. And we think he probably took this name because people were like, you weren't born royalty. You were born just a regular person. You were floated down the river. And he's like, no, I am the true king. I have conquered all of this land. Yeah, I find it very interesting. And so he creates what's the world's first empire, the Akkadian Empire. And Sargon I is going to rule for a total of 56 years, which I am never, ever, ever going to say, hey, how long did Sargon rule? Because it's not important. But maybe what you want to see is the fact that the Akkadian Empire lasts 200. So for over a quarter of that empire, it was one man ruling. Now, we have this victory stele on the bottom here. Now, I'm going to show it a zoom in image of it, and we'll talk about this in 1 second because this is quite the interesting piece of art once we really look at it. The capital was Agad. Sometimes it's written that way. Sometimes it's Akkad, Agad. It's one of those things where we see ancient languages. We're not entirely sure how they truly pronounced it, and we put the closest examples to English for us. So it could have been Akkad or Agad. And just like I used with my example earlier when the lecture started, Sargon had a lot of his power because after he went and sent his military in and beat a bunch of people up, he went and sent Ivan in and said, Jason, your people need to keep paying or else. And as I mentioned, we talked about the steles that we see here. We're going to zoom this in a minute. And these steles are basically large statues. They're like a relief where it's, you have your stone and it's carved in. So it's like 3D protruding out. However, they're not going to be in the wall. They're going to be in the middle of areas. And they're pretty cool. Hopefully in the springtime when we're allowed to go do things again, we'll be able to go to the Walters Art Museum and see some steles from the Akkadians. Also, though, what's nice is they are letting people in. So if your family ever wants to take a day trip to Baltimore, the Walters Art Gallery is free, and it's amazing. And you can see some of the things that we're talking about here today. Finally, we talked about the Epic of Gilgamesh, and we know Gilgamesh was written down many, 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 many times by the Akkadians, and it was one of their favorite stories. That's actually where we have the actual cuneiform tablets are from the Akkadians. We believe it was written before the Akkadians. It was a Sumerian myth, but we have all of our evidence from the Akkadians. So here we see the Akkadian Empire. This area is in like this light green, bluish. I have a hard time with color because this was actually once part of the Persian Gulf. And then over time, Max was like, I want more farmland. And Cortez says, I want more farmland too. So they go dump some dirt over and they actually fill in part of the Persian Gulf. So there is more land there today than there was back then. So this brown, though, is our Akkadian Empire. And we see it takes up essentially all of Mesopotamia. All of these city-states were once independent countries, and now they're ruled under Sargon the First. And here is a zoomed-in area of that stele. You do not have to write what's on here, but I'll show you. So, like, if you go look back, see, this is like so this part that's zoomed in is like this portion of the stele. So, what do we think is going on in this image? What do we see happening in the top part of that stele? Who wants to go and throw an idea for what they think is occurring? Shania, start us, darling.
They look like they're fighting.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely some fighting, a war. Very good. Kadir, did you want to add more to that?
Yeah, there's this big dude. There's like this big dude who looks like he came and killed them all. And there's this one person who looks like he's playing like the trumpet.
Yeah.
End of the war type of song, kind of.
Yeah. Now, I have a question. Does anyone have an idea? And maybe Maddox has an idea. Who do you think this big dude is, Maddox? You can do it, broski.
He might be Sargon?
Yeah, that's Sargon. Now, Khan, do you think Sargon was really in the battle throwing spears through guys' necks and all that stuff? No, he probably was not, because that wouldn't be safe for the king. Kings want to be safe. So it's one of those things that the artist is going to show Sargon on top of all of these poor people that he's went and killed and beat up and all of this. And now Kadir went and said that he was a big dude, which I agree. He looks much larger than the other people, does he not? And you knew that this was Sargon. Why do you think Sargon would be made larger? Maddox?
I didn't have an answer for this one, but I noticed something.
Oh, well, why don't you tell me that, and then I'll ask someone else for the other part, okay?
Okay. I saw the right guy. He's like painting something. He's like crafting something.
Oh, this guy right over here?
Yeah, he's writing something.
Yeah, Kadir thought he might be playing a trumpet. You think he might be writing cuneiform? I'm not sure, to be honest, what this guy, because it's tough to tell, and it's eroded over time. So I very much could see someone playing an instrument. I could very much see him having, like, writing the cuneiform. I'm not entirely sure. I actually think he kind of looks like that this is his face, and this is his two arms, like, pleading for mercy. That's kind of how I've always interpreted it. Although once Kadir said playing a trumpet, I was like, that does kind of look like he's playing a trumpet. So I'm not sure. I think he's pleading for mercy for Sargon. But now, who could tell me, why do they think Sargon was depicted so large? Do you think Sargon was a giant, like Gilgamesh? Or why do we think he's shown so big? Trying to get someone new that I have not seen much of today. Why do you think he's so big, Shania?
Because he's probably a king.
Okay, so he's a king. Why would they show the king larger, Danny?
To make everybody like impressed by him.
Yeah,
If they didn't see him in battle or don't see him, they might look at one of these and think, he's really scary. We shouldn't do anything bad.
Exactly. And that's why he's going to put up these victory steles. He just destroyed your city, enslaved your people, and then he goes, puts this up, being like, hey, don't forget how this happened. I'm big, I'm scary. I've got horns on my helmet, for Pete's sakes. Yeah, definitely, Alexander. Great job, folks. So that's going to be our notes for the day. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about Sargon and the Akkadians. So today, I keep on closing the Schoology page. I apologize. So today, our plan in our Wednesday folder, 9:30, would be to look at chapter 4.2, Mesopotamian Empires. And you'll see it is easy peasy lemon squeezy. You've got 4 questions today. So please make sure you're working hard on those. I had the unfortunate situation where, oh, I am still recording. Thanks for reminding me to turn it off. I appreciate that. I am stopped.